Welcome to Live with Lacey for Military Appreciation Month, my big celebration. I'm Lacey Langford, the military money expert. I help the military community make, save, and invest money wisely. It's near and dear to my heart. I grew up in the military. I served. And in honor of Military Appreciation Month, I'm doing a live show every Monday, Wednesday, Friday throughout the month of May on military life, money, and entrepreneurship. Every Tuesday, I'm hosting a fun giveaway. This week, you can win a $100 Walmart gift card. And on Thursdays, I'm releasing an how-to video. This past week, I released a video on how to prepare for military transitions. To find out the latest on my monthly activities, everything that's going on with this event, be sure to follow Finance Lacey on Twitter and the Military Money Expert on YouTube and Facebook to get all the latest. Support for my Military Appreciation Month celebration comes from Self. With Self, you can open a credit builder account, pay monthly, and on time to build positive payment history. Visit self.inc to learn more. All right, let's do this. My guest today is Katie Cannon. Katie is the founder of Money Pilot Financial Advisor. She is a 25-year Army veteran, woohoo, where she served as a troop leader, Blackhawk helicopter pilot, and advisor on China affairs. She now brings her passion for service and working with soldiers to financial planning. Her mission is to help you take charge of your finances and live your best life, which sounds awesome. So wherever you're at, please welcome Katie to the show. I appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Lacey. Yeah, I'm really excited. I'm a huge fan of your show. So this is kind of exciting to be on the Lacey Langford show.
Well, I appreciate you listening and watching. This is, I think, very exciting. I'm always looking to have fun conversations when it comes to military money. And I think saving is a big one. It's one of those foundational pieces. So I want to ask you, starting off at the basic, because military, it's like to the lowest level. That's the way I operate.
Yeah.
What does saving mean? We hear it all the time, but what does actually saving money mean?
Yeah, it's fundamentally, it's really not that complicated. It's basically you're taking money now and putting it away for the future. So it's really delayed gratification. But I don't like to think about saving as just cutting that money out of my life. And I don't think you should have to either. It's just delayed. And you're going to have something bigger and better in the future. And so when you take this money away today and save it somewhere, the idea is you let it grow, whether that's interest on bank accounts or investing in something that increases in value, like maybe stocks or real estate or something like that, and reinvest it. It snowballs. It grows and grows and grows. And it's really astounding what time can do for you. So saving is really simple. Actually, you take the money, you put it away, you let it grow and leave it. And sort of, in some ways, just ignoring it is great, because that's when it works for you. And while you're not even watching, it grows, and then it'll be there for what you want later in life. So really, it means that first you just need to spend a little less than you earn today. Obviously, if you are spending every dollar you earn, you don't have anything to save. So, what I call a cash flow plan, or, I do use the word sometimes, the budget, is really important. And I know it can be tough. I know service members sometimes really struggle with this, but believe it or not, people at all income levels have trouble sometimes just getting a balanced budget or a cash flow that's positive. So you're spending less than what you're earning right now. And so the other thing is that it seems like your needs, and I'm air quoting here, expand to fill what you have. And so I don't want to sound like I'm preaching to the choir. I know service members, they're such good savers. And boy, there are families out there that know how to pinch every little bit of life out of every penny. And that's awesome. And so the key, though, is limit yourself to less than you really need. Again, and first-term soldiers, really sometimes know how to make this work, because they've got the tightest amount to work with. And then use your other resources on posts and things like that. Things like your show, Lacey, are always telling people how to save money, how to spend less, and then also try and earn a little bit more. So finding that will help you change from spending everything you have, or even worse, spending more than you have, to spending less. And the other good thing about that is when you save in this way, where you really focus on your budget, it's a two-sided coin. So you're learning to find and enjoy a lifestyle now, which is going to be less than what you're earning. So pick any amount. Let's say you're going to live on 75% of what you earn and try and save 25%. So you learn, hey, this number of dollars, and you figure out a way. You do it by checking with your friends, shows like yours, on post resources, counseling coaches if you're really struggling, any of that. And you fit in here, and you learn to live on what you have. And I don't mean to make that sound like a bad thing. If you really think about what brings you joy in life, what do you really find you spend $1 on, and you go, God, that's the best dollar I ever spent. And also look at the stuff where like, God, where did that go? I don't even remember it. Or, I like eating out, but that I didn't get, $20. That gave me $5 of the joy. I didn't get that 20. I need to find a different way, And so anything, just sort of look at that, and you learn to enjoy and really value a certain lifestyle that you've put yourself in. And then that carries forward, and that savings you have when you get to the end, and now you're looking at using this savings, that's going to help you maintain that lifestyle. Where if you're, instead of doing 75-25, and you're more of a 95 spend and 5% save, you're going to get to the end and you're used to a 95% lifestyle, and suddenly you're trying to do that on a whatever 5% grew to. That's tougher. So, I really like to think about it as a big benefit to learn and explore ways and really fight to find how to get every bit of joy out of the dollars you have, save some, and then know that you can have some comfort that down the road, that's going to help.
Yes. I think having the conversation or making it more known that you should, let's say, for example, what you just gave, you should only be spending 75% of your money. Instead of people thinking, oh, that's all I earn, I can spend it all. No, actually, you can't. You have to, try to live on less than you make. And I think having that conversation more and more makes that the standard versus let's max it out. And
yeah,
I really agree with you about the military community really can penny pinch and watch. I remember one time I was at the commissary and I was trying to buy a small bottle of ketchup, I think for like a camping trip. So I didn't want a big bottle for the size of the bottle.
Yeah.
And, there's like 3 or 4 different sizes ketchups. And I remember this woman was like, you should get the other one because it's a better deal. And I was like, okay, I don't know this woman. She just pointed out to me. I was like, yes, I see that. Like they're on sale. That would be the better choice, but I need a small bottle. And so she just could not get that. I want the small bottle. I get that I could get more value if I get that next size up. So I was like in this debate with this woman in the commissary, and I was like, I like your passion, but I want it for.
That's great.
But that's, that's how the military community is. It's just like you are watching what you're spending. I agree that people are doing a great job savings, but I think maybe it's just me feeling guilt because when I was a young service member, when I was enlisted, I did definitely spend more than I made, or I was at least spending every penny of it. Sometimes just a little bit less because my dad forced me to do an allotment to savings bonds. And so I did do some of that saving in the beginning, but I think it's just starting to be mindful of it. So I appreciate the explanation of what it is. I want to pull it out. You said a couple of things there, but what are different ways that service members can save? Because it's not just one way. So how does that work? Where can they put it?
Yeah, well, certainly one of the easiest visual things is, the loose change in a jar, rate it when you need it. The problem with that is it's a bit aimless, right? And you never know who might be rating it. And, is that enough? How much should be throwing in there? Is the loose change left over at the end of the day work? So it's not necessarily that that's bad, but there's better ways of doing it. But I think the most important thing, and especially when we talk about how you think about saving, is to be saving for something. And something tangible. I think one of the tough things about saving for retirement is, for instance, is it's so far away and you're just like, yeah, I mean, we're talking, it could be 30, 40 years down the road, it could be 50, depending on how old you are, and just, it doesn't seem like it's real to you. So it's hard to save for something that far away. And so I really think that everything you save for, and there should be different things, not just savings in general, but everything should have a name, a why, know what's your why, a target, a home for it, and a way for it to grow. And I think don't skip over, the first couple, like the naming and the why. That it sounds kind of foo-foo-y or whatever. Let's just get to the meat kind of thing. But take a minute. And I really am big on kind of the naming thing. So if you're trying to save for retirement, all right, that just doesn't get that excited. It makes me think of dentures and Medicare. But instead, if you think you're going to do the traditional thing, you really would like to go to Florida. It's warm and sunny and you love to swim. Maybe you don't call it retirement, you call it beach time. I'm saving for beach time. Or if you imagine touring the country in an RV or something, maybe your retirement plan isn't called that. It's called Road Warrior. It just, whatever it helps you with the naming, go for that. And then the why, like, why is it important to you? So like with retirement, what are you envisioning? Yeah, you just hope to maybe play golf or hit the road or go to the beach, but does it mean that you don't have to depend on your kids, that you feel like, not worried that is somebody else going to be able to help me? And then what kind of a burden might I be? Or maybe, there's people that worry about Social Security, maybe not giving them as much as they say or whatever. And so, when you think of that, think of maybe the security and the safe feeling you get from that, as well as the fun, the kind of things you want to enjoy. At this point, you've given it a name, why you're doing it. And you can think about that and sort of conjure it up when you're trying to, oh God, do I really have to give up another so many dollars today out of my paycheck to go for something so far off? And then you do need a target. So it's a bit, retirement so far away. So sometimes it's easier just to kind of start with a percentage. Like, I want to start out maybe saving 10% every year, for retirement. And then so what your paycheck is, you could figure it out that way. If it's a closer goal, you might be able to put an actual number on it. So then what it is, why you're doing it, how much money are we talking about here? And then it needs a home. So this is kind of back a little bit, answering the question a little bit more directly about different ways to save. So if it's something, really close in, a savings account may be the best place for it. Something like retirement, TSP is, awesome if you've got it. If you're a working spouse, a 401k if it's offered, or a 403b, whatever your workplace retirement plan might be, that's a great place to save. Again, you can automate it and have it go on autopilot. Also, some of our listeners might not realize that if one spouse is working and one isn't, the non-working spouse can also get an IRA as long as, the one spouse is earning income. So it's a way for everybody to put some money away and save, even though, you might not be going away to a job to work. Your job or your work is supporting your family and doing everything you do, for the military families in our country. You can have something away for your retirement as well. And in your retirement, yeah, you assume, we hope that you retire with your spouse, right? But you don't have to name your retirement the same thing. Maybe spouse wants to do this. Maybe you just love the grandkids. You might not want to live near, but let's say you want to be able to travel to see them and be greatest grandma. Maybe your retirement's greatest grandma or whatever, or second career. Maybe you've always wanted to be an opera singer. So maybe, it's the opera at the Met is the name of your retirement, whatever. So we've talked about a place. So again, like a TSP, an IRA could be a good place, or 401k to save for retirement. So it's not a home, and then a way to grow. And so, it's probably a topic for another podcast, to sort of how to invest. But you can take different amounts of risk to try and achieve different kinds of growth. So for something long-term, you typically want to have something that's a little more risky. It just means that goes up and down in value, or the returns change over time. And as you get closer, you usually want to move it to something that's more stable, so that you don't get 1 year from retirement and surprise, 2008 happens again, and your nest egg is now worth half of what it was yesterday. If it's the part of your retirement you don't need to touch for another 10 years, that's fine. But if you need that tomorrow, or, college education, ooh, yeah, you were going to Princeton, but now, sorry, babe, it's community
Tech
college.
school.
Tech school, right? And so an easy way to do that for retirement savings is do like a life cycle fund, or if it's separate, like an IRA or some 401ks are often called target date funds. And the great thing about those is that's another autopilot thing. You tell them, I want to have this available, in my old age retirement at 65 or whatever, and they'll invest it for you and sort of help it get sort of safer and safer as you get there. But this can go for all kinds of things. I think retirement is kind of one of the harder things. But again, the things, what do you want to spend your money on in life? You work hard for this. And so what are you saving for? Maybe you just got an assignment to get posted overseas, your next assignment, PCS overseas. And you've always thought the idea of doing some travel overseas would be so awesome. So now you're going to be there, and you'd like to have some money to be able to enjoy that for you, and maybe you and your family. So again, give it a name. Is it going to be Mount Fuji? Is it going to be Oktoberfest? Whatever pops in your mind when you think of traveling, give it a name like that. And then your why, and when you think about when you're doing the savings, think about, okay, Oktoberfest. Oh yeah, it's going to be so much fun. I'm going to sit there with the other Germans. I'm going to learn a little German. We'll have those great beer snacks. The ladies with the Mangasso biceps are going to bring me by liters of beer, and it's just going to be great. So, that's your why. Again, give it a name. What's the why? And something like that, that's coming up pretty quick. So, you might not have a lot of time to save a lot. Maybe you're hoping you put $1,000 away for travel while you're there. And then maybe you can pinch that COLA a little bit. A lot of times if you're living on post and you're careful and you're ordering from Amazon, your COLA can be a little bit extra from savings. So maybe your idea is, okay, we'll have our $1,000. And then if we can, we'll do something extra or something a little more fancy if we can squeeze out a little bit more from the budget leader. So with that coming up, you want to keep that nice and safe. You don't want Oktoberfest 2008 hits, and Oktoberfest is now sitting at home and watching it on TV and getting, a Budweiser from the PX.
Yes. So, not the same. Not the same.
So a savings account is a great place for that. I know it just sounds so boring, but really savings accounts can be awesome because one, they're insured by the FDIC. So if, God forbid, the bank just completely implodes, you'll get that money back. It's safe. Interest rates kind of suck right now, but if you shop around, there's some online banks, they're still FDIC insured, and you can get a little bit more. And so your $1,000 isn't going to turn into $1,200 in a year, but you have enough for an extra round for everybody, or an upgrade on a ride up. Maybe you can't get a ride up Mount Fuji. I think maybe you just have to walk, but whatever.
Yeah, you're going to do the old-fashioned way.
Yeah. Maybe you get to take the bullet train instead of the bus. Yeah.
Yes.
And then there's other homes as well for different things. So if you've got some children that you want to save a little extra for college, sometimes a college 529 plan is a great place to save. There's sometimes extra matches and tax breaks from the state, depending on what state you're in. If you've got special needs families, there's the Achieving a Better Life Experience or ABLE accounts. That's a good home for up to like $15,000 a year, where then this child can have this money into adulthood without affecting their access to other aid and help from the government, for different things. We already mentioned TSP, 401ks. Another thing I like to, if you've got teenagers and they're working or actually earning income, believe it or not, you can help them open a Roth IRA. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah. Get them started early.
Exactly. And then again, as far as other homes, again, it's sort of more a topic for another podcast, but there's, it's actually quite easy to open an account with a mutual fund. If you want to do some investing, something like a Vanguard or whatever, if you shop around a little bit, there's some good funds that are quite simple with very low fees. And so don't be too intimidated. Don't be afraid to ask for some help, but don't be intimidated by, I don't know, a brokerage account or something. And that's another one. I know one of your sponsors is Charles Schwab. But they've also got some very they're more full service, and they've got some good lower priced options. There's a lot of competition right now for where to invest your money. So it's simpler and not as expensive fee wise to do it as it used to be.
I like that you lay out a plan, because if you want to get something done, you can't just wing it, because it's not going to end the way that you want it to. It might eventually get there, but it could take longer and a whole lot messier. But I think what you're saying too is aligning whatever the goal is with the proper account. So like you're saying, like if it's long-term with a TSP, or if it's something shorter term, you were saying savings accounts. So having a plan, I think, makes it easier to back into things. That's what I do. It's like, if I want a certain amount, it's like, okay, well, if I want that amount, how am I going to get that? Am I going to work more? Am I going to, cut back on grocery spending, those type of things? Are we going to sell something? That might be the other option too. So I think knowing what you want makes it easier to make a plan on how to get it versus not being specific. So you're saying, like, put a name on it. What is it? And I like naming things that are fun, because when I think of retirement, I think wild and free. That's what I think. Like no kids. Like, we can go where we want, do what we want. And from a lot of people, you're not retiring when you're 70. You might be retiring, especially in the military community. You might be retiring at 40, where you might just work a little bit. If you've done right and maybe saved 30% of your income, that's a strong possibility that you could be retired once you separate or retire from the military. So I like to have a game plan. What's an easy way for people to get started? Because I think sometimes that's the hardest part, is like making the move, crossing the threshold. Like, how do they get started?
I think probably, again, go back to it sounds boring, but that savings account. Because a couple great things, you can do a lot, but they're kind of a pain. So if you start with where your direct deposit goes for your pay, and then most banks, I know for sure USAA does, I'm pretty sure Navy Fed, and a lot of them allow you to have multiple savings accounts, and they don't charge you any extra to open these accounts. You can have several. And then you can, again, give the account the goal name, right? So some of them are going to be basic, like maybe I've seen some where it's just the bill paying one. So a lot of bills, you kind of know how much they are every month. And so that goes from where the money comes in, and you can set it up automatically in a lot of banks to just automatically go. So if your paycheck is X number of dollars, maybe 500 gets the day after it arrives, immediately goes over to your bill paying account. And then, your bills get paid maybe automatically from there. If you have a savings goal for, let's say the trip, you're getting overseas, you try and save $1,000. You have that account, the bank will let you name it usually. So you don't have to call it, savings or whatever. You'd say, Mount Fuji. And
you can fancy it up.
Fancy it up, and you've looked at your budget and you say, you know what, I think I can do, just by pinching here or whatever, I could do I could get $100 a month more out of my budget. And that's just gonna go there every month automatically. And so, you have several of these accounts to do different things. And then if you'd like to save more in a mutual fund, but that's going a little bit, iffy, then maybe you have a third fund that you let build up a little bit and then you invest it or whatever. But by having it happen automatically, it's harder to get in there and stop it. You have to actively do it. It's not like having $100 in your pocket and then just pulling out, a couple bucks and spending it and going, where'd it go? So I love the idea of having things happen automatically and having the name. So every time you log into the account, you're like, oh, I've got $200 in the Mount Fuji fund, and the bills, I hate seeing that, but they're good. They're going up and down like they should. And it helps you just visualize where it is. And again, think back to, what's my why? Why am I doing this to myself with a budget? And then you can see where it's going and think about the future and what you're saving for.
I love the way that you describe that, because it made me really think about, sometimes when I coach people, there's this thing where we just won't look at anything. That's how people's mentality is like, I won't look at my bank account. I won't look at my bills because it's not good. I already know that. So why bother looking at it? But actually that's how it snowballs and gets in a worse position. But I like that you keep saying, like, look at it, because a little bit more you save, the more you pay down, like, it starts to not be so painful to look at it, or not painful, but uncomfortable, or not a good feeling, but it starts to switch, like, hey, wait a minute, like, I got a little bit more in there. That's starting to look a little bit more fun. Like, maybe I am going to reach my goal. I think in the beginning you have to believe.
Yes.
And then it starts to move in, like, holy cow, it's happening. Like, it really is possible. And I'm almost there. Or, now I got to pick a new goal because I met that one.
Exactly. Yeah.
But I like that. That's a great description, is to look at it, to see it, and help that. I think that will help kind of move it along. Well, I want to ask you real quick, what was the peak of you serving in the military, and what was the pit?
I think the peak had to be, I spent a year in China as part of training. The second half of my career, I was a China Foreign Area Officer. And the whole goal, we had a travel budget to travel and see how the country really worked, how people really lived. And for anyone who's curious, it was fabulous. I was literally at one point a mile underground in a Chinese coal mine down there with miners. Oh, wow. Yeah. And like, it looks like something out of a superhero movie. We got the giant, like, pointed grinder where it grinds off the coal. They had stopped it. We're standing there right next to this giant machine with the little miner's hat with the light and the electronic canary. And wow. So that the whole year was like that, one thing after another. So that was a lot of fun. Sort of the pit. The pit was early in my career. I started out as a pilot, and a lot of issues with women trying to break in and actually get, decent assignments. My very first assignment, I had a battalion commander tell me, yep, you do a year as HH6, so do a good job, and then you can have a flight platoon. Got nothing but great feedback, awards and stuff for that year. And I got to hear a rumor it's going to somebody else. And I went and talked to him, and he said, yeah, the brigade commander and company commander don't want a female on that job. And
that is a pit.
Yeah, some rather Army/Navy language in response. I could have used maybe a little better filter, but I eventually got the job, but knew every day I showed up to work that my chain of command had fought literally to keep me out of it.
Yeah. Well, that definitely is a pit, but I'm glad that you had the peak. And I think that was one of the peaks of me serving too, was working with different cultures and seeing, different experiences. So I love that. Well, I really appreciate that you came on Live with Lacey and for doing this. Can you tell everybody watching where they can learn more about you and what you're doing?
Sure. Yeah. You can check out my website, moneypilotadvisor.com. I also do a podcast, usually once a week, and you can link to the podcast down sort of at the bottom of my webpage as well. I love working with service members and also federal employees who there's a lot of overlap. And just helping, same thing, just helping people envision and then work toward having their best life.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here, Katie.
Thank you, Lacey.
All right. I also want to say thank you to Self for the work they do to help others build credit and savings. To learn more about Self and the work they do, excuse me, I just lost my screen. To learn more about Self and their credit builder accounts, visit self.inc. You can find links to find and follow me, Katie, and Self on social media in the description below. If you haven't already registered for my giveaway, don't forget, I'm still giving away until midnight tonight a $100 gift card to Walmart, which will definitely help in your budget and maybe some summer fun. I really appreciate you tuning in. Be here on Wednesday. I'm going to be talking with Daniel Kopp, a friend, fellow Air Force veteran, and a CFP, and we're going to be talking about investing. So be here on Wednesday. I really appreciate you watching, and I'll see you then.